Hi, I'm Nick, and today I'm going to tell you and show you the story of Dark Empire, the first of 3 comic books to comprise what I consider to be the original Star Wars sequel trilogy. There was a lot of material set after Return of the Jedi, but I've never read any of the plain text Star Wars books. If you have, this play takes place right after the Thrawn trilogy. To me, Star Wars is such a visual story, so these comics served as my primary sequel stories. To me, it's just not Star Wars without the visual component. Also, these books deal with the main characters dealing with momentous events that wrap up the story of the film, such as the return of the Emperor, Han and Leia's children, Leia becoming a Jedi, Luke eventually starting a new Jedi Order, and the end of the Empire. Published in 1991, this is the first of 3 volumes, and I plan to cover the next 2 in the following weeks. Along the way, I'll point out various things that seem to have migrated to the Disney sequel trilogy, which I did enjoy very much. If you didn't like them, perhaps you'll prefer these stories. And if you did like the Disney films, it can still be interesting to see what has gone before. I'd also like to note that I have greatly truncated the story here, and these are great books, so I do encourage anyone who wants to track them down and read them for yourself. But if you choose not to, I tried to hit all the important story beats here. Now, let's get started. This opening crawl is longer and more detailed than the one in the remastered edition, so I'll start by reading this from my original trade paperback. Star Wars Dark Empire. Following the deaths of Darth Vader and the Emperor and the destruction of the second Death Star, the Rebel Alliance proclaimed a new republic over 3/4 of the galaxy. But without the thousands of Jedi Knights who formed the backbone of the old republic, the new Confederation was a precarious one. Long years of struggle ensued, during which Imperial factions consolidated control over 1/4 of the galaxy. Whole systems became fortresses, bristling with firepower. Then, 5 years after the Battle of Endor, the infamous Grand Admiral Thrawn mounted a deft assault, nearly bringing the fledgling Republic to its knees. Ultimately, Thrawn was defeated, but within days of Thrawn's downfall, surviving members of the Emperor's ruling circle, in concert with 6 former Starfleet commanders, staged a stunning assault on Coruscant, and the vital Imperial system once again fell under Imperial control. It looked certain that a new empire was about to emerge from the ashes of the old. That very possibility triggered a ferocious war among the numerous Imperial factions. Who would sit in the Emperor's throne? Who had the right? And the might? Meanwhile, the rebels were quick to seize the opportunity to sow confusion among the feuding Imperials, using captured Star Destroyers to conduct hit-and-run soirees into the war zones. One such raid, over the raging Imperial City battleground, ended in disaster. The Alliance Star Destroyer Liberator, commanded by Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian, crash-landed on the planet's surface. As our story opens, Princess Leia Organa and her husband Han Solo, together with the Wookiee Chewbacca and the protocol droid C-3PO, are on a daring mission to rescue their fallen comrades. Our story begins with Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO arriving in the midst of a great battle to rescue Luke and Lando. It looks a bit different than it would in the films, but this is the planet Coruscant. The Falcon navigates through the space wreckage to the planet's surface, where a battle rages between factions of ex-Imperials vying for power. With the Emperor gone, the Empire fell to infighting and internal civil war between those factions still loyal to the Emperor and those who only wanted power for themselves. In the midst of this chaos, Luke and Lando are somewhere on the surface. The Falcon rescues a band of rebels and finds Lando among them, and while Leia senses that Luke is nearby, he is nowhere to be seen. Leia proves her usefulness in combat by using her force powers to distract some war beasts while Han shoots them, and soon a shadowy figure also uses the Force to destroy some war droids by manipulating their internal mechanisms. Luke emerges just in time to meet an oncoming AT-AT walker. Using his lightsaber, he deflects the walker's fire back into its head, and then using the Force, he brings it toppling to the ground. Luke tells Leia to leave him there, as he has discovered something is using the dark side in this place like nothing he has ever felt before, and he must investigate. Soon after, a hyperspace wormhole opens near the planet, unleashing a powerful force storm that rages across the planet's surface. Luke tells his friends to leave, as he can sense that the storm only wants him, and they will be destroyed. Leia hesitates, but Luke tells her that she and her children will be the future of the Jedi, and she must think of them. Reluctantly, she leaves with the others. Luke faces the storm alone, and soon he and R2 are pulled into the sky, their fate uncertain, except that Luke knows that it is his destiny that calls him. Han and the Falcon return to Pinnacle Base on the moon of Dasucha, hidden in deep canyons among rocky spires. There, Admiral Akbar and Mon Mothma discuss the ongoing struggle against the remaining Imperial forces. A great war fleet has emerged from the galactic core, and a new threat descends on Akbar's homeworld of Mon Calamari. Han tells the rebel leaders that Luke disappeared into the dark force storm, and Mon Mothma believes the timing is not a coincidence. Mon Calamari is under attack by massive new machines called World Devastators, machines which suck up the planet's natural resources and enemy ships and use them to build new fighters, which then emerge to strengthen its attack. Han and Leia prepare for a new mission to rescue Luke, as Leia senses he is in great danger. Luke finds himself and R2 in a huge Imperial prison ship orbiting the planet Biss, deep in the galactic core. It's possible this planet, which is completely shrouded in the dark side of the Force, was replaced by Exegol in The Rise of Skywalker. Luke is thrown into an energy cage and taken through the streets of the strange and beautiful city until he is released. He fights off the guards and walks into the Citadel under his own power to meet his captor, the Emperor. The Emperor reveals that his death at the Death Star was not the first time he has died, nor will it be the last. The amount of dark side energy in his body is too much power for flesh to sustain, and so he has been moving his power and his consciousness into clone bodies for years. He tells Luke that he exists primarily as formless energy, the same energy that can be seen escaping the shaft he was thrown into at the end of Return of the Jedi. He offers Luke the same position Vader had as his apprentice and commander of his great army. Luke considers striking the Emperor down, but he is aware that it would not truly kill him, and the Emperor might even possess his own body if he does so. Luke realizes that there is no other way, and so he agrees. In order to learn the secrets of the dark side, to better understand his father and the path that he took, and to truly overthrow the Emperor, Luke kneels and accepts his destiny. Leia senses this from a galaxy away, and is more worried than ever that Luke is lost. Now, the Emperor moving into clone bodies is how I think he survived in Rise of Skywalker, though it's not specifically spelled out. We do see clone Snokes and tanks. I think that's, proof enough. One of the rebels mentions clones and the dark side, and I think this is what they're referring to. I don't think his body survived the destruction of the Death Star. Now, back to the story. The rebels, led by General Lando Calrissian, arrive at Mon Calamari with a stolen Star Destroyer leading the charge. They launch X-Wings and transports to help the besieged Mon Calamari people, who are doing what they can at the ground level to fend off the assault. The World Devastators fight back with fully robotic TIE fighters, and a tractor beam that pulls in the stolen Star Destroyer to turn it into even more fighters. At that moment, back at Pinnacle Base, Leia receives a vision through the Force. At first she thinks it is Vader, but it is actually Luke who tells her not to interfere, that he has fallen to the dark side because it is the only way to free the galaxy from the Emperor's tyranny once and for all. The Emperor taunts Leia at the end of her vision, and she becomes overwhelmed and faints, only to be found soon after by C-3PO. Han Solo is training new recruits when Mon Mothma summons him to the infirmary to see Leia. Leia tells Han that Luke is in grave danger, and they must leave to go rescue him. Her Force senses will lead them to him, and the rebel leaders agree that Luke, as the last fully realized Jedi, is essential to the survival of the New Republic. Han knows some shady people who have paid for permission to travel to the deep core, and Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO set off in the Falcon to find them. They arrive at Han's birthplace of Nar Shaddaa, a moon of smugglers, thieves, and pirates, only to find that Han has a larger bounty on his head than ever before. They are immediately attacked and pursued, the chase leading deep into the canyons of the city. Han flies into the hidden garage of an old friend, Nynx, and meets with Sala, an old flame, who agrees to help them reach the galactic core with her own large ship, the Starlight Intruder. As Chewie helps Sala finish getting her ship ready, Han and Leia visit the area where Han used to live. Leia is soon accosted by an old woman, Vima, who senses the Force in Leia. She says that she used to be a Jedi and survived the Purge by betraying her own kind. Desperate to atone, she gives Leia a gift meant for a Jedi. I think that this character in this incident ended up transmuted into The Force Awakens as Maz Kanata having a lightsaber in a trunk, as it is a Force-sensitive person in a back alley of the galaxy handing a lightsaber down to another Force-sensitive person. Han and Leia make their way to Han's old quarters, only to find a nasty surprise awaiting them. Boba Fett. He has survived the Sarlacc pit and seeks revenge, as well as the now increased bounty on Han. A firefight and a chase ensues until Boba accidentally shoots a Hutt gang lord off his flying platform with a rocket, which Han and Leia quickly leave aboard and take escape into the skies. They return to the Starlight Intruder, on which the Falcon is docked, and leave the planet unaware that Fett is tracking them. Leia opens the gift Vima gave her to find a lightsaber and sees a vision of Luke commanding the Imperial forces, and she fears he truly is lost. Back on Mon Calamari, Lando boards the last escape pod and narrowly escapes the Star Destroyer before it is swallowed whole by a world devastator. However, a stroke of luck for the rebels is had, as improper command signals are transmitted from the Imperial headquarters on Biss, causing the giant machines to malfunction and crash. Lando remarks that whoever is in charge of these ships is an idiot, as it appears that he wants to lose. Obviously, Luke is doing what he can to help the rebels from deep within the machine of the Empire. The Starlight Intruder arrives at Biss and is allowed through the planet's shields, while as Boba Fett attempts to sneak in behind it, his ship is cut off by the shield closing. Leia takes over piloting the Falcon after the intruder docked at an Imperial loading bay, and her senses guide her to the Emperor's Citadel where Luke is waiting. Leia uses the Force to mind trick a patrol ship's gunner before they can open fire, and the Falcon docks safely in the Citadel. After Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO exit the Falcon, Sala and Nix launch the Falcon, blasting an exit from the hangar. Luke appears to Leia and informs her that his master wishes to see her, and that the Emperor still lives. The Emperor's Sentinels escort the prisoners down to the Emperor's clone laboratory, where Leia and Luke are finally reunited. Han is convinced that Luke has fallen to the dark side for good, that being a Jedi was too much for him. Luke tells him that there are powers in the universe that a space pirate could never understand. Luke demands that Leia turn over her lightsaber. Leia fights back, slashing the arm of a Sentinel, but it is short-lived as the Emperor appears and destroys her lightsaber with the power of the Force. The Emperor explains to Leia that his clone bodies cannot long withstand the dark Force energy that constitutes his spirit, and that he has plans for Leia as he had for Luke. He lashes out at her with Force lightning as an act of discipline. Filled with rage, Han breaks the Sentinel's grip and he attacks Luke. He calls Luke a traitor and says that he doesn't deserve to live, that if he gets the chance, he'll kill Luke himself. Luke responds that Han doesn't know what he's done to save the galaxy, and that while he may have to die, it won't be Han who does the deed. Meanwhile, Sala and Nix have hidden the Falcon from Imperial patrols. From within the Emperor's dungeon, Han sends her a signal, and she brings the Falcon out, heading back to the tower. Within the tower, the Emperor confronts Leia, showing her an ancient Jedi holocron filled with ancient wisdom. Leia says that he has no right to have it, but he claims to be the master of all the Jedi. Keep in mind this predates the word Sith, and that at the time they were called Dark Jedi. And he reveals to her that he can enter anyone's body, even that of the child within her womb. As he is nearing another death and preparing for a transition to a new body, when he tells her that her child will belong to him, Leia attacks the weakened Emperor, steals the holocron, and escapes. She finds Luke, who tells her that he has placed all the Empire's information that the rebels will need inside of R2, that her arrival helped break the grip of the dark side, and that it is time for them to rescue Han and for all of them to escape. Han's own plan comes to fruition, though, as the Falcon blows a hole in his and Chewie's cell. They are boarding the Falcon when Luke, Leia, and C-3PO show up. Leia narrowly stops Han from blasting Luke, explaining his ruse. Luke tells Han that if this works, the Empire will be finished forever. After the escape, while Han is beaming the data to the rebels, Luke reveals that he is but an illusion, and he has remained behind on Biss to finish off the Emperor. Now, while it's not at such a great distance as in the film, here we see Luke using the Force projection powers seen in The Last Jedi. Luke confronts the Emperor in his clone lab, revealing his betrayal and his intent to stop the Emperor for good by destroying his clone bodies. Luke begins smashing the vats with his lightsaber, but he is too late. The Emperor kills himself and is reborn, young and vital in the final remaining clone body. They have a lightsaber battle, and the Emperor demonstrates his own skills, disarming Luke after a short fight. He tells Luke that the dark side will break him, and they will go to recapture Leia and the stolen holocron, and crush the rebellion once and for all. Back on Mon Calamari, the stolen codes paralyze the world devastators, and the rebels board from the sea and battle with the stormtroopers within the great machines. While the codes have stopped the devastators from moving, the fighters they build are still a threat. R2 creates a new code from the data, and as the rebels escape the devastators, R2 commands them to crash into each other, finally ending the battle. Once R2 is analyzed back at Rebellion headquarters, the Emperor's full plan is revealed. The Galactic Core has become a series of fortress worlds, and the Emperor will launch wave assaults from there to retake the galaxy. Leia uses the holocron and receives a prophecy about twin Skywalkers, and learns that the child she carries will be the greatest hope of the Jedi in the future. The Emperor's massive flagship exits hyperspace right above the Rebels' moon base. The Emperor tells the Rebels that he has no quarrel with them, but they must turn Leia over with her stolen artifact or else be destroyed. Leia demands to go, both to prevent the loss of life and for one last chance to rescue Luke from the clutches of the Emperor. Leia confronts the Emperor and Luke, and the Emperor demands his holocron. Leia tells him that she doesn't have it, and she came for her brother. The Emperor mocks her defiance and tells her again her child will belong to him. As he touches her stomach, though, he is repelled by Force energy. Angered, he commands Luke to attack her. Luke pleads with her, telling her he has gone too far into the dark side. Leia tells him that he will come back to the light, that he will train her baby and her other children in the ways of the Jedi. Luke tells Leia that he had to know why their father chose the dark side, and that he understands now. The Emperor again commands him, but Luke tells the Emperor that power and control were not the only things he learned of the dark side, but also loneliness, sadness, and fear, the feelings the Emperor feels even in his moments of triumph. The Emperor lashes out at Luke with Force lightning, and with his own truth about Vader, that the great Darth Vader was nothing but a sick man in an iron mask, that his feeble heart was forever possessed by the light deep inside, weakening him. Luke finally turns back to the light, freed by his sister from the Emperor's control. They battle again, but this time Luke is able to cut off the Emperor's hand. In his anger, the Emperor responds by unleashing another force storm on the rebel moon below. Luke and Leia join their powers together, unlocking unknown strength in each other, and they close the Emperor off from the chaos he has created. Unable to control the force storm, it turns against its maker, tearing the Emperor's 10-mile-long flagship apart. Brother and sister Jedi barely escape the ship in time, and as they watch the ship crumble, Leia tells Luke that her baby was joining their power with its own, and Luke tells her he can feel that great things are coming, and the Jedi will rise again. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story, and I hope you come back for Dark Empire Part 2 next time. Thank you for your time.